now with yesfinanciallyfree.com doing page 136 from The Alchemist, which is a chapter from the book Memoirs of Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. Hey, so glad to see you all today. And about myself, I live in Waikiki with my husband Jamel and our 7-year-old son Jordan. Back in 2011, I owed over $40,000 of credit card debts, many credit card debts. And I paid it all off by April of 2016. But not only that, I quit my job. December 23rd, 2016 was my last day. By that time, our family's net worth had improved by over $500,000, and we were making almost $500 a month, every month, in passive income. So I started coaching clients to do what I did, which was not only pay off debt, but also increase your net worth and passive income so that you have more time freedom, so that maybe you want to quit your job like I did. I wanted to spend more time with my son. He was 3 years old at the time. And I also wanted to focus more on my own business because I felt like I wanted more creative freedom. You know, I wanted to do something more challenging where I was constantly learning and growing and helping others. Now, whatever it is for you, I want to help you get there. I am not a math savant or math genius. I am a regular person who got into credit card debt, who was working as a banking assistant. Okay, I wasn't even a banker. So I want to tell you that whatever you want in your life, if it is financial freedom, if you want more choices, if you want to spend more time with your kids, your wife, your husband, your family, your parents, I'm here to help you. All right. Now, there's a free ebook, Working Parents Guide to Financial Freedom. I have it at yesfinanciallyfree.com. So if you go to my blog, on the right side, there's this place where you can put in your first name and email address and hit the yes button. It's a red button. Then you'll get the free ebook, Working Parents Guide to Financial Freedom, sent directly to your inbox, and you'll be on my email list. And that is a great place to be because I send out great emails every weekday with inspirational messages and links to all of my replays, right? Today, when I'm reading live, I actually have all of my readings for this chapter in one blog post organized for you with written summaries underneath. So if you don't want to listen to this reading out loud, you can actually check underneath for a summary. I also have a link to the ebook. This is a free book. This book is recommended by financial advisors and as one of the best books ever written on finance and money. So you can get it for free. It's an older book, as you'll see as I'm reading. So the English is older, but it is free. So you can check the link on my blog as well. All right. So we are going to continue on. We were reading about a lot of alchemists. All right. Different histories. Some of them were pretty crazy, not going to lie. And today is a different section. And it says, let me see, I'm going to find it. Scrolling down to the page. This is a very long chapter, I've noticed. But anyway, getting there. Okay. This section is called Inferior Adepts of the 14th and 15th centuries. Okay, let's find out what he's talking about. Okay. Many other pretenders to the secrets of the Philosopher's Stone appeared in every country in Europe during the 14th and 15th centuries. The possibility of transmutation was so generally admitted that every chemist was more or less an alchemist. Germany, Holland, Italy, Spain, Poland, France, and England produced thousands of obscure adepts who supported themselves in the pursuit of their chimera by the more profitable resources of astrology and divination. The monarchs of Europe were no less persuaded than their subjects of the possibility of discovering the Philosopher's Stone. Henry VI and Edward IX of England encouraged alchemy. In Germany, the emperors Maximilian, Rudolph, and Frederick II devoted much of their attention to it, and every inferior potentate within their dominions imitated their example. It was a common practice in Germany among the nobles and petty sovereigns to invite an alchemist to take up his residence among them, that they might confine him in a dungeon till he made gold enough to pay millions for his ransom. That's terrible. Many poor wretches suffered perpetual imprisonment in consequence. That's terrible. Similar fate appears to have been intended by Edward II for Raymond Lully, who, upon the pretense that he was thereby honored, was accommodated with apartments in the Tower of London. He found out in time the trick that was about to be played him and managed to make his escape. Some of his biographers say by jumping into the Thames and swimming to a vessel that lay waiting to receive him. In the 16th century, the same system was pursued, as will be shewn more fully in the life of Seton the Cosmopolite. Following is a catalogue of the chief authors upon alchemy who flourished during this epoch and whose lives and adventures are either unknown or are unworthy of more detailed notice. John Dowston, an Englishman, lived in 1315 and wrote 2 treatises on the Philosopher's Stone. Richard, or as some call him, Robert, also an Englishman, lived in 1330 and wrote a book entitled Correctium Alchemiae, which was much esteemed till the time of Paracelsus. In the same year lived Peter of Lombardy, who wrote what he called a complete treatise upon the Hermetic science, an abridgment of which was afterwards published by Licini, a monk of Calabria. In 1330, the most famous alchemist of Paris was one Audemars, whose work, De Practica Magistri, was for a long time a handbook among the brethren of the science. John de Rupescissa, a French monk in the order of St. Francis, flourished in 1357 and pretended to be a prophet as well as an alchemist. Some of his prophecies were so disagreeable to Pope Innocent XI that the pontiff determined to put a stop to them by locking up the prophet in the dungeons of the Vatican. They lock up a lot of these guys. It is generally believed that he died there, though there is no evidence of the fact. His chief works are the Book of Light, the 5 Essences, the Heaven of Philosophers, and his grand work, De Confectione Lapidis. He was not thought of as a shining light among the adepts. Ortholani was another pretender of whom nothing is known, but that he exercised the arts of alchemy and astrology in Paris, shortly before the time of Nicholas Flamel. His work on the practice of alchemy was written in the city in 1358. Isaac of Holland wrote, it is supposed, about this time, and his son also devoted himself to the science. Nothing worth repeating is known of their lives. Boerhaave speaks with condemnation on many passages in their works, and Paracelsus esteemed them highly. The chief are De Triplici Ordine Elixir e Lapidis Theoria, printed in Bern in 1608, and Mineralia Opera sur la lapide philosophico, printed in Middelburg in 1600. They also wrote 8 other works upon the same subject. Kofti, a Pole, wrote an alchemical treatise titled The Tincture of Minerals about the year 1488. In this list of authors, a royal name must not be forgotten. Charles XI of France, one of the most credulous princes of the day, whose court absolutely swarmed with alchemists, conjurers, astrologers, quacks of every description, made several attempts to discover the Philosopher's Stone, and thought he knew so much about it that he determined to enlighten the world with a treatise. It is called The Royal Works of Charles XI of France and the Treasure of Philosophy. It is said to be the original from which Nicolas Flamel took the idea of his Désiré. Lenglet de Fresnoy says it is very allegorical and utterly incomprehensible. For a more complete list of the Hermetic philosophers of the 14th and 15th centuries, the reader is referred to the 3rd volume of Lenget's History, already quoted. Progress of the infatuation during the 16th, 17th centuries, present state of the science, present state. This is interesting. Okay, during the 16th and 17th centuries, the search for the Philosopher's Stone was continued by thousands of enthusiastic and the credulous. But a great change was introduced during this period. The eminent men who devoted themselves to the study totally changed its aspect and referred to the possession of their wondrous stone and elixir, not only the conversion of the base into the precious metals, but the solution of all the difficulties of other sciences. They pretended that by its means man would be brought into closer communion with his maker, that disease and sorrow would be banished from the world, and that the millions of spiritual beings who walk the earth unseen would be rendered visible and become the friends, companions, and instructors of mankind. In the 17th century, more especially, these poetical and fantastical doctrines excited the notice of Europe, and from Germany, where they had first been disseminated by Rosenkreutz, spread into France and England, and ran away with the sound judgment of many clever but too enthusiastic searchers for the truth. Paracelsus, Dee, and many others of less note were captivated by the grace and beauty of the new mythology, which was arising to adorn the literature of Europe. Most of the alchemists of the 16th century, although ignorant of the Rosicrucians as a sect, were in some degree tinctured with their fanciful tenets. But before we speak more fully of these poetic visionaries, it will be necessary to resume the history of the Hermetic folly and trace the gradual change that stole over the dreams of the adepts. It will be seen that the infatuation increased rather than diminished as the world grew older. Aguerello. Among the alchemists who were born in the 15th and distinguished themselves in the 16th century, the first in point of date is John Aurelio Aguerello. He was born in Rimini in 1441 and became professor of the belles lettres at Venice and Trevisa. He was early convinced of the truth of the Hermetic science and used to pray to God that he might be happy enough to discover the Philosopher's Stone. He was continually surrounded by the paraphernalia of chemistry and expanded all his wealth in the purchase of drugs and metals. He was also a poet, but of less merit than pretensions. His Chrysopia, in which he pretended to teach the art of making gold, he dedicated to Pope Leo X, in the hope that the pontiff would reward him handsomely for the compliment. The Pope was too good a judge of poetry to be pleased with the worse than mediocrity of his poem, too good a philosopher to approve of the strange doctrines which it inculcated. He was therefore far from gratified at the dedication. It is said that when Aguerello applied to him for a reward, the Pope, with great ceremony and much apparent kindness and cordiality, drew an empty purse from his pocket and presented it to the alchemist, saying that since he was able to make gold, the most appropriate present that could be made him was a purse to put it in. This scurvy reward was all the poor alchemist ever got, either from his poetry or his alchemy. He died in a state of extreme poverty in the 83rd year of his age. Wow, they lived pretty long, actually. I'm going to end here. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying the reading, and have a great day. Share this with your friends and followers. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. You get an update when I'm again live the next time.